The Epic of Gilgamesh has a story about the flood, right? The 7 tablets of creation have a story about a flood. The Greeks have a story of a flood.
What's the Greek version again?
It's just a massive deluge that happened that wiped out the planet. Oh, Zeus sent down a flood. Zeus sent down a flood to wipe out everyone else. I think that's what's the Greek? What is the Greek flood story? Actually, never went down deep dive on this one. When Nistimus succeeded to the kingdom of Achaea, there occurred the flood in the age of the Deucalion. Some said that it was caused by the impiety of Lycaon and his sons Zeus by pouring rain from heaven. Yeah, here we go. So Zeus caused the flood, and in the Sumerian text, Enlil causes the flood, right? And Enlil's the god of storm and air, and Zeus is also the god of storm and air, right? And in the book of Noah, so the reason why they did the flood, right? They made a flood on the planet is because they found that mankind has became ugly as a species. Like we've lost our ways. So he sends the flood down to wipe us out essentially. And then Enki, the Poseidon, he goes to Noah and goes, "Hey man, my brother's about to fuck you guys up, man. So you probably want to build a boat. Take it easy." So in the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh, he even says it too. He's like, after when the flood is about to happen, a guy named Ushnapitnam was told to build a boat, bring some animals, save your family because you're the only one worthy of being saved. And that's exactly the same story of the book of the Bible's Noah's Ark, right? Mankind got twisted. We lost our ways. The flood happened, and this leads to the Younger Dryas, bro, right?
Are they all like the same period though?
We'll talk about the same period of man around the prior to like the Tower of Babel, right before the Hebrew book of Genesis of the splitting of the ethnicities, right? So that's the Greeks. You got the Egyptians have a story of a flood. You have the Sumerians have a story of a flood. You have the ancient the ancient Chinese have the story of a flood. And I'm like, okay. The Mayans have a story of a flood. The people from Easter Island have a story of a flood. We're gonna get to that too. The people from Easter Islands have a story of a flood. The Indonesians have a story of a flood. And the final thing that was this is it, bro. Something happened was I had a little flashback. I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of flood stories, right? And then I remember when we were kids. You remember the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories? Right? They teach you about the Dreamtime story, right? And in the Dreamtime story, there was a story about a flood that happened. I'm going to open up the exact flood story. Let me open it up for you guys. I don't know how to spell it. Aboriginal is quite complicated. The Bundaba flood story. Bundaba. The flood. All right. I don't want to read the whole thing. So it says these boys were fucking around with this owl, and they ripped all his his feathers and his wings off, and then they let the owl go back to where it needs to go. The great father Nawungu was so angry and decided to drown the people, right? And then with the rain and thunder was a terrible wind which broke great limbs off trees and rooted up others. During this terrible storm, there was a noise above the awful crashes of thunder. The noise was coming from the north. The salt water, the sea, came pouring over the ranges from the north. The flood rose higher and higher till all the land was covered except the tops of 2 or 3 mountains. From further west, a man and his wife with a dog were battling their way in a canoe when a bird with a leaf in his mouth flew in front of them, showing them the way to Mount Broom. They eventually reached Mount Broom and landed there where some other survivors were. Okay, so there's always a survivor on a boat.
So what's the point? Like, you think it's all the same event?
Yeah.
He's saying that all the cultures around the world have there's been a flood that's happened in one of the cultural history stories.
Yeah, but floods aren't like
Closer, yeah.
floods aren't rare. You know what I mean? Like they can't happen like
This is
around.
a massive
But
flood.
no, I'm saying like you're saying like
Okay,
it ties into one event.
Yes. So you know how floods, the ones we've seen are not big. Do you know what? Okay, let me show you some evidence of flood. Then we'll show that. We'll show that next. So Randall goes. He takes a drone footage and he shows massive ripples of what looks like a massive flood ravaging through North America, right? And it shows, you know, when you go to the beach and you see the ripples on the beach, it looks like the what you call it? fractal patterns. It's called fractal patterns, right? It's the same patterns and it keeps recurring and all that stuff, right? But on a small scale. But when you go to the site, it's like massive, right? And it's where the alleged site of where the asteroid came and hit North America, right? Causing the Younger Dryas, causing the Great Flood. And he says in here, like, the flood, where the drone is not even the height of the flood. So let's let us think that where the drone is shooting the scene, the flood is about 200 feet more high than that drone. So we'll have a look at this.
Is we don't remember our past.
What are we looking at here?
Okay, can we pause so I can talk about what we're looking at?
Yeah, you look at this one, that way you can hit the mic right in front of you.
Okay, this is the beginning, but okay, here's what we're
Get
looking
that mic right up to you there.
We're looking at a place in western Montana called Camas Prairie. And you see some hills in the foreground and you see a basin in the background, right? Okay, right here on top of this hill and down on the side here, you see that there are some quarrying operations. Those are quarrying gravel. Because everything you're looking at here, this whole landscape between the hills are these large masses of gravel, trillions of tons of gravel. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start sweeping around as the video plays, and you're going to notice down here a series of ripples.
Oh, okay, I see that.
Okay, and I'm going to have Jamie pause in a second, but let's keep coming around. Do you start seeing the ripples on the landscape? Let's pause right there. Right there, let's pause. Now, I wish I had a pointer, but if you look up, you're going to see a flat piece of land like a tongue coming out, rounded. Yeah, Jamie's right here. That's
Did you get your laser?
That's a delta. That's a delta. You know what a delta is? You ever heard of a delta? It's when a river comes into a body of water and it's carrying sediment. And because the river is moving along swiftly, it's carrying the sediment. But when it comes into the standing body of water, it slows down and it drops its sediment. It builds a delta. The whole city of Portland, for example, is built on a giant delta, right? New Orleans is built on a delta, right? Okay, so what we're seeing there is a delta. And then in front of it, we're seeing rippled landscape. Let's keep coming around, Jamie, and so
Rippled landscape that looks exactly like the beach looks.
Yeah, keep coming around with that.
That's the thing, it's fractal, because this is the whole mystery of this, that this happens at a scale of inches on beaches and a scale of hundreds of feet here.
Stop again.
Good Lord.
Now, right here in the middle, you see a massive delta.
Yes.
Spewed out like a big tongue, splayed out. And then right down here, you start seeing the ripples. And there's a farmhouse. You see the farmhouse there? Now, those ripples are, the tallest ones are about the height of a 5-story building.
Whoa. How bizarre.
Let's keep swinging around
Let's
here.
just stop this for a second, if you don't mind.
No, I don't
So
mind.
these things, they're the size of a 5-story building. What is that, like 70 feet or something
50
like that?
feet.
50 feet?
50
okay.
feet.
So those are 50 feet high. And how much water?
We'll get to that. Let's see the rest of it.
These are just dirt, right?
They're well, if you dig into one, what you're going to find is they're a massive. Okay, let's pause again.
Whoa.
Look at this.
This is crazy.
This is totally crazy. This is one of the craziest things you'll ever see.
These ripples, the repeated ripples in an area where there's nothing else like it.
This is the fingerprints of the flood. That's what it is.
Wow. Where can someone look at this? How does someone look at this?
In real?
You know, this right now, this what we're looking at, this video.
Well, my colleague Brad Young did this with his drone, and I think he's got it on the website Geocosmic Rex.
Is this being played in the YouTube video right now? Okay, all right. So the YouTube people are cool with it. If you're listening on iTunes,
Which part of where is that?
This is near Washington, I think. So where this happened was, Canada and North America, like the half of North America didn't exist. It used to be covered in ice sheets, right? That's fact. During the ice age. The interesting thing is like when I started talking about ice age, I was like, oh yeah, we were in an ice age. Fuck. And then we left it prematurely. And I'm like, that's very strange. And then Graham talks about the Younger Dryas. I'm like, an asteroid coming down smacking. And so when an asteroid hits, when a meteor hits, right, and it impacts, it creates like nuclear glass, and it leaves behind iridium, right? They found when they dug down around that period, that's 12,000 years down in the soil sample, around the whole planet, there's a fucking layer of charcoal. There's a layer of charcoal and iridium and spherules. Spherules are these little nanodiamonds that are created when like high heat impact, like nuclear bombs happen. When you have a nuclear bomb, a nanodiamond like happens in the near the area of the explosion. And then this guy goes on George Howard goes on Danny Jones' podcast and he shows you the layers and all that stuff. Actually, Graham actually shows you the layer in the next season of Ancient Apocalypse. It's out.
I meant to watch that.
Yeah. So there's a layer of that, and you know when they dig 12,000 years around everywhere on the planet, this layer is present everywhere. And you know how they know it's this layer that's caused by asteroid strikes? The last time they see this layer was the layer they used to see the dinosaurs get extinct. Bro, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, okay. So the reason why they know it's the same is because they used to use the dinosaur line. They used that line as a reference point. They're like, oh, we're going to find the Clovis people underneath this line. Because the Clovis people were the people who used to inhabit North America. And they suddenly vanished around that period. And you know what's even crazier, bro? Remember the Boneyard of Alaska guy, John Reeves? You know the woolly mammoths and the saber-toothed tigers and the megafauna and all that stuff? They all went extinct around the same period, 12,000 years ago. Very strange, right? Very strange, right? And then this guy, the guy John Reeves, right? He owns so let's give some context. John Reeves, he owns a gold refine, like what's the excavation? What's the
Miner?
Yeah, he's a miner. He mines gold, right, in Alaska. And then he was doing his powerful water jet thing, and he was like blasting this permafrost. Permafrost is like it's like a soil. It's like soil, but there's like I'm not sure what it is. I'm butchering it. He blasts down these permafrost, and then when he blasts it down, he's dozens and dozens of mammoth bones are coming out. He's like, what the fuck is going on here, bro? I'm trying to look for gold, but I keep finding dead mammoths everywhere, right? And he in like a 5-acre lot, he's got like 10,000 mammoths dead, and that's just in like 5 acres, bro. 5 acres isn't much, man, right? And then when you examine these dead mammoths, right? When you examine the dead mammoths, like how they died, a lot of them died with like trauma, death by trauma, like blunt force trauma, like snapped legs, broken necks, broken arms, like something moved them, displaced them so rapidly that's made them smash around trees and all that stuff, breaking their limbs and all that kind of stuff. Flood. A damn flood, bro, right? A flood, man. And this flood, you know the one he showed you on that camera? In meters, I calculated. Let me have a look at the actual numbers because I calculated it in meters for us. The flood was 335 meters high. Yeah, you want to talk about the flood, right? That's 3 swimming pools, bro. High. Dude. And in the Aboriginal story is that this flood engulfed so much of the planet, and that's why like the landscape is so drastically different from 12,000 years ago, because a lot of that shit is underwater. So like I said, remember when Flint Dibble was like, there's this guy named Flint Dibble who goes on.
How high is Mount Broom?
I couldn't even find it. So we can go look up that at one point. So there was a guy named Flint Dibble, right? Who goes on Rogan to argue about. He's like, Graham, if there's cities, where are they? Where are they? I'm like, bro, a 300-meter tsunami, bro. And you know what the interesting thing is? Where do you find most people living on the planet right now? Can you guess? Have a guess?
Coast.
But the coastline, right, bro? That's where the best weather is, the best place for vegetation is, right? Look, America's different. They got like cool seasons in the middle as well. You can live in Colorado in the middle, but it snows there, right? It snows there. You can get water, yada yada, all that stuff. Alaska, but if you go across most of the planet, most people live on the coastline, right? We did probably almost the same thing back then. A flood comes in, boom, bro. 300 meters, bro. You got no chance, cuz. You're fucked. So I'll go on my Instagram page. Flint Dibble goes to Graham. He's like, hey, if there's lost cities, where are they, right? I'm like, bro, this flood is 330 meters high, bro. There's nothing surviving that. Not to mention, before the flood comes, so you know, like the dinosaurs, right? It was a gigantic rock, but our one exploded. And I'll show evidence for that too. Explosions, spots, right? So the meteoroid explodes, the asteroid explodes, and it does like multiple shots. And that's why when you see like across cultures, they talk about raining fire, raining hell on Earth. And then if you go to Turkey, they built a lot of these cities, a lot of these underground network places were built after the flood because it was raining these meteors for like 100 years or something. That's the alleged story, right? Because we were close to getting wiped out, man. So I tell him this. I'll tell Flynn this. How do I max screen this? Can you max screen this? I can't. Right, look at that, right? Let's see the sound of that thing. But this thing came from the mountain. Bro, an asteroid coming from up there, blowing up, giving you a shotgun blast. So it's not like a sniper rifle. This thing explodes in the air. Like, bro, right? Dude, that's from the mountain. I mean, this thing's coming like thousands of kilometers from the sky, bro. This thing flattened that truck, destroyed that road. Destroyed the road, bro. Okay, so after that comes the nuclear winter that covers the planet with all the soot and all that shit. And so what they think happened is when it hit North America, it vaporized the water, the ice age, the ice caps. Like, what happened to the ice cap? Why did we leave the ice age prematurely? So they found out that we left the ice age prematurely. We should have been just leaving it now. It should have been just phasing out right now, right? But we left it prematurely because something happened, right? So they think this asteroid erupted, blew up, hit North America, heated up the water vapor, going up to the sky, and it rained back down, causing the massive flood. Right? Not only was there flooding in North America, causing the displacement of the mammoths and all that kind of stuff, it started raining everywhere, and it started getting floods across the whole planet. Right? So you hear stories of a global cataclysm, a global flood all over the planet. And remember, and I'll show you the George Howard clip.
So was it only one area of ice caps that were impacted, or was it like all over the world?
North America. Yeah, it hit North America.
Just North America. And that was enough to cause flooding around the world.
Yeah, because there's so much ice that evaporated into the sky and rains back down. Because like, think about it, it's that much ice sheet, and that's the solid version. Liquid is fluid, it takes up more volume, takes up more space, right? So when that motherfucker rained down, dude, shit me, bro. Imagine that. Imagine Zeus was like, hey, I don't know how to send these guys back to the Stone Ages. To Madara. Boom! Bro, that's crazy, man. And then all the stories talk about Zeus causing a flood, the Enlil causing a flood, right? And then what's his name? The Bundava flood, sorry, angered the father Nogungu. I'm butchering it. Angered the father Nugungu, and he caused the flood. And then at the end of the day, someone causes a flood and someone survives it. And you know what's in the little cherry that they give you? Every time the survivor finds out, he tries to find out when the flood finishes, he sends out a white dove. And the white doves never come back, signaling the end of the flood. The Aboriginal story, the guy sends out a bird. But never comes back. I'm pretty sure Aboriginals ain't Catholic. I'm pretty sure Noah sends out a white dove. Right? Doesn't come back, signaling the end of the flood, bro. I'm like, God damn. I'm starting to think something did happen. And you know, when Graham said this, it hit me in the face, bro. He's like, we are a species with amnesia. I'm like, whoa, right. I'm like, thinking about it. If you got wiped out, how fast would it be for you to lose all the memories? Right? To lose all the stories. And that's why we have to take these oral stories, these myths, more serious. Like the Bible is just a bunch of stories, right? The Bible is just a bunch of stories of things that might have happened, right? So yeah, let's look at George Howard's. So there's this place called the Catalina Bays, and it shows you like these massive lakes, and then they track it, and it looks like a shotgun blast, right? It looks like a shotgun blast from something erupting on top of North America.
Has there ever been a recorded footage of like just small meteor strike?
Yeah. He talks about it now. Actually, good thing that you bring it. So this is a Tunguska event. So this happened on top of Russia. So this thing was flying and it erupted in top, and that's the patch they left. It didn't land. It just erupted on top. Nothing landed on us. It blew up completely up there. Well, something did land before it scattered all over, but not at high velocities. It blew up and it left this mark, and someone died. Actually, one guy died. He happened to be at the wrong place, wrong time, bro. It's always one guy, always one dude, wrong place, wrong fucking time. Yeah, that's the Tunguska event. You can look that up in your spare time.
Tunguska looks like today.
Part of it.
So there's many of those circular grasslands with no trees, many spots like that, and essentially the idea is that there was some sort of an airburst that created a shotgun blast where all these smaller particles, but maybe the size of this table, basically slammed into the ground.
Well, I'll tell you where it is now, and we're out on I call the Carolina Bays.
Is this similar to what the Carolina Bays look like?
We'll call them up. Google Carolina Bays.
Okay.
You tell me.
Carolina Bays.
I don't mean to be suspenseful, but
No, suspense is killing me. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so they look very similar, and they're full of water?
Just some of them are.
Okay.
And those are the ones that the public that lives around them think of those, and they know, well, yeah, that's a unique geological feature. It's Carolina Bay. It's a lake. But little do they know that when you go look at them carefully, you can see them everywhere in the landscape. That the roads go around them instead of through them. The churches sit on the rims, and they bury people in the sandy rims, all the graveyards on the rim. So it actually has affected human settlement patterns where these wetlands are, because they're all wetlands. Some are actually lakes. But the curious thing, Danny, is that they orient themselves, I guess you could say. They are oriented in a particular direction.
What do you mean by that?
So if you are in New Jersey and you find a Carolina Bay, or you see one, or you see it through LIDAR, which is very fine elevation data, which you get with lasers, they point more westerly in, say, New Jersey. You get down to the Carolinas, and they point northeast. Then you get down to Georgia, and they point north. So they all converge. See that bottom left? If you'll scroll up.
Click on that bottom left with the yellow.
Yeah.
See that, Steve? Now it's your top left. Yep. Try to blow that up.
Yeah. So this was my dream, and I didn't have the wherewithal to do it, but others came along, and a wonderful guy, Michael Davies, went into full obsession mode for several years, and he went and categorized, calculated, defined every single Carolina Bay.
Okay.
And you often see in, casual mentions of them that there are 500,000 of them, but we've only gotten to 55,000. And they're all pointing. So if you see up there in the north, they're just a little bit more west. And if you look down in the south, they're pointing north. And that's like a blood spatter pattern. That says that these things are somehow drawn from a particular location. Right?
So you're saying so in that top up by like the Great Lakes where that center piece is, that central spot is, are you saying is the idea that a large comet hit there and then debris is like shot out and hit the Carolina Bays?
Precisely, Dr. Jones.
Okay.
And so you call them secondary impacts. And the idea is that it kicked something into the Carolinas. So what did it kick into the Carolinas? And also Nebraska and Kansas, and Dr. West and I were the first to note those in LIDAR and said, holy shit, they're all over Kansas and Nebraska, and they point back the other way. They're pointing to the same place.
Pointing towards that center impact area.
Exactly. And so, where were we?
Are there any more? Are those the only ones you found? You would think there would be more in that. There's a big empty area in like the bottom left.
Excellent question. It's the nature of the soil there. That in the Carolinas, this sand, it's a sandy coastal plain all up the East Coast. And that's an important component. And you have that same with a shallow groundwater table. All right? So it's sand with water immediately beneath it. Same thing out there in Nebraska, right? That it's a sandy soil. So where you don't see them, where there might have been things that landed are the red clay country of Arkansas, right? It's not sand. It would have eroded or otherwise not shown itself as clearly, is the idea.
Okay.
So it only shows up in sandy soils.
He doesn't understand how these Carolina bays filled up with water, right? He thinks he follows this other guy's theory, but he doesn't think that's true either. He thinks when the asteroid erupted and bursted out everywhere, it hit and then ice chunks came out, and then that caused the holes and filled in the water. But when I watched Randall's video on Caldas Valdeira, is a volcano. You know, like when volcanoes erupt, it has a pit, right? And those things are massive, right? He finds out that volcano got filled in by water, like crazy, and they didn't understand how. Like, I'll show you. And he thinks it's from the flood. So you know when the rain happened globally, that filled in these. I'm suspecting that filled in these things, right? Not these ice blocks fucking flying out and then causing the hole and then causing the water there. I think the rain from the flood filled in these lakes, right? Oh, let's have a look at this one too. So this is like where like
crazy. This what we're looking at, folks. The people who are just listening in, you have to go to the YouTube now because this is insanity. This is as close for a dummy like me to look at something like that and then go, oh fucking that's definitely a river. A river carved that.
Okay, what you're looking at there is a gigantic extinct set of cataracts, like you would find at Niagara Falls, but to use Graham's term, writ large. We're looking at a ridge. We're looking east. The tsunami wave that swept down over these 4 states, one branch of it swept off to the west. This particular branch of it was 400 feet deep when it hit this ridge. And what it did was it spilled over the ridge, and down here in the foreground you see the modern-day Columbia River. From the top of the ridge, where you see the agriculture and the landscape, down to the rivers, about 1,000 feet.
Wow.
So you basically have to picture you've got this huge sheet of water, 300 to 400 feet deep. It's rushing over, and it finds the lowest spot within this ridge, and that's where it starts focusing its energy. And as it does, it begins to just strip away the rock. Now, what you're looking at here is this cataract complex is about 5 miles across. And the water came, and you see you've got those kind of curved finger lakes at the top.
And those tunnels.
Those are potholes.
That's insane.
Potholes are formed by underwater turbulence. And in a flood this swiftly moving with this much turbulence, you literally have vorticular eddies, high intensity, high amplitude, high energy underwater tornadoes, literally underwater tornadoes. Now, these underwater tornadoes are typically, in this case, about a half a mile wide.
Oh, my God.
And they're spinning at a high rate of speed, and they're probably 600 feet deep because the water pouring over the ridge is at least 200, and you can see what it's done to the bedrock.
Anybody listening, you gotta look at this. You have to look at this and then listen to the scale.
This is a gigantic scar in the landscape, of which there are hundreds around this region.
And the exact location, Randall?
This is Potholes Cataract.
Right.
The exact location. Yeah.
Somebody wants to get to it, we're in Washington State still?
Yes, we're in Washington State. Central Washington. It's going to be right on the Columbia River, just below Wenatchee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, where we saw that huge erratic,
yes, very
giant 18,000-ton boulder brought there, enchained in an iceberg floating on the flood, an iceberg the size of an oil tanker carrying an 18,000-ton boulder, carried on the flood, grounds 700 feet up a valley side, rests there as the flood waters recede, the ice melts away, and the boulder is left sitting there.
We're going to look at a picture of that boulder in a second.
What do the people back in this part of the country, what do they think about this?
Well, they're only just catching on to what they're sitting on top of.
Jesus
the first time I went out here in 98, there was the Ice Age Floods Institute, and I went to their only location, which was in the Better Business Bureau in Moses Lake, Washington, and they had one room in the back of this Better Business Bureau, Chamber of Commerce, and there was 2 elderly ladies in there who were basically the overseers of the group. Now there's about 24 chapters, and every year there's several guided field trips. led by geologists who are studying this in their off time. And I've been on a number of these just to participate and get the access to the geologists in order to pick their brains. But this is very close to Wenatchee, Washington. So if anybody's wanting to find this on Google Earth, this is a Google Earth image. Now what we're going to do, but before we leave the Google Earth image, I was going to explain that you got those, see those lakes, those meandering lakes up there. What you got to picture is you've got a sheet of water coming. And as it's coming over this ridge, it's beginning to selectively erode into fault lines and cracks within the bedrock. Can you picture that? The water is going to naturally try to go into those low spots where there's cracks and fissures, and it'll start going from a sheet into channeling. What goes from sheet to a channel, then that spills over the ridge. And in the middle, you see this, it's called a rock blade. See that? The rock blade is that yes, that's it right there, separating the two alcoves. If the flood had continued for another few days, that rock blade would have been gone. And you would have had a single alcove up there.
So like if you look at Niagara Falls and you strip all the water out of it, this is what it looked like. But then this is on a, dude, it is on a colossal scale, man. Dude, the Niagara Falls is tiny compared to this, bro, right? And then they also go down the rabbit hole of the Valles Caldera. So this is like a volcano.
This is Valles Calderas. This is the largest volcanic caldera in North America. It's 11 miles across. And here's what's it. It was born out of a catastrophe millions of years ago, right? And then subsequent eruptions over hundreds of thousands of years have left this feature. But what's interesting to us here is what happened around 12,000 years ago. The entire caldera filled up suddenly. And if you look at if you look at it as a clock, at about 8 o'clock, you can see a breach, a valley coming off. You see that?
Yeah.
Jamie, can you? Yeah, right there. That was the spillover. So at the same time, now get this, at the same window of time that these flood events are happening up in Washington and Idaho and Montana, this caldera suddenly fills up with water, and the water spills over the rim and cuts a canyon hundreds of feet deep. Now, what could cause that to suddenly fill up with water? And it's completely removed. It's not receiving glacial meltwater. There's only one thing by default, and that would be rainfall. A lot of rainfall, falling over days and days at a time. So if you go to the next slide, we'll see what sits down in the bottom of this valley is thousands of these gigantic rolled boulders. And you know that they're water transported because they're round, they're rolled. That's what water does. It rolls these things. Now this is in New Mexico, see? So this is related to the spillway, the overflow of Valles Caldera, which has been dated to that same interval when the floods were happening up north, the same interval that now the comet is dating to. Is this coincidence, or are the two related? I would say it would be very premature to dismiss it and say that they're not related.
You bet.
Because as Graham just said, one of the consequences of an impact, whether it's into the ocean or the ice sheet, is you're going to have extreme amounts of water vapor injected catastrophically into the atmosphere, which is then going to rain out in incredible torrential downpours that might last for days at a time. And along with that water vapor is a tremendous amount of particulate mass.
And it's that rain out that I would say caused the erosion on the Sphinx and tells us that the Sphinx is 12,000 years old, not 2,500 BC.
You guys are freaking me out. This is amazing.
Yeah, man, like I said, like dude, I'm not taking this wholesale yet.